The month is October, the year 2020. The tank is new. The journey begins with optimism, as it always does, but with uncertainty. The reef hobby is vast and contradictory. A landscape where every expert offers different advice, where success seems to acquire both art and chemistry, intuition and precision. In the beginning, the fundamentals were followed correctly. Water was purified through reverse osmosis and deionization, removing chlorine, heavy metals, and dissolved nutrients before it ever entered the system. The biological cycle was allowed to establish. Bacteria colonized the live rock. The water chemistry stabilized. But there was something missing. A vision. The aquarium was stocked not with intention, but with impulse. The corals were chosen because they were colorful. The fish were added because they were beautiful. There was no understanding of their origins, their needs, or how they might coexist in a closed system. No thought was given to whether the environment being created matched the requirements of the life being placed within it. It was reef keeping as collection, not as stewardship. For a time, the system appeared stable. The equipment functioned. The livestock survived. But survival is not the same as thriving. The learning curve was steep, and every decision felt like a gamble. What products were necessary? Which were marketing? The online community offered endless, often conflicting guidance. Some voices were credible, others were not. And then, in 2022, a single decision altered the trajectory of the entire system. On the advice of certain voices in the online community, individuals claiming that tap water, when treated with a dechlorinator, was perfectly safe for reef use. I made a change. I stopped using reverse osmosis and started using tap water that was now being used in my system, treated only with C-Chem Prime to neutralize the chlorine and the chloramines that were in the water itself. The reasoning seemed sound. Prime is a powerful product. It binds chlorine and chloramine, rendering them non-toxic. Surely, that was sufficient. But it was not. You see, the problem was not what the prime removed. The problem lies in what it couldn't remove. Municipal tap water, I learned, is engineered for human consumption. It is not designed to support the delicate biochemistry of a coral reef. While Prime effectively neutralizes, disinfectants like chlorine and chloramine. It does nothing to address the dissolved nutrients present in that water. Two of them, nitrate and phosphate. In many regions, tap water contains measurable concentrations of these compounds, byproducts of agricultural runoff, lawn fertilizers, and the decomposition of organic matter in water treatment systems. To a terrestrial garden, these are fertilizers. But to a coral reef aquarium like mine, they are a slow-acting poison. But the tap water was not the only variable that changed in 2022. My life had become difficult. Interest in the system waned. Maintenance became sporadic. Water changes, once performed regularly, were neglected entirely. The tank was kept alive, barely, through topos alone. This was not carelessness. It was the result of struggling with my mental health. And in that struggle, the reef became a reflection of the person caring for it, slowly deteriorating, neglected, but not yet gone. For nearly 2 years, the system absorbed the compounding damage. Every top-off with tap water added more nitrate, more phosphate. With no water changes to dilute the accumulation, the concentration climbed. Week after week, month after month, the bacteria community in the livestock worked to process the waste produced by the fish and the decay of uneaten food. But they could not remove the nutrients from the system. They can only transform them. Ammonia became nitrite. Nitrate became nitrate. And nitrate, with no pathway for export, simply accumulated. The visible signs of collapse were unmistakable. Had anyone been paying attention? Hair algae colonized the rockwork. Bacteria bloomed in thick maroon mats across the sand bed. The once vibrant purple coralline algae faded beneath the films of diatoms and detritus. The corals retracted, their tissues thinned, their colors muted. The fish moved sluggishly, their immune systems compromised by chronic exposure to poor water quality. The aquarist, in March of 2024, I began to emerge from the fog of personal struggle and seeking help from my mental health. I finally took the water to my local fish store to get tested. And what I found, the results were devastating. Nitrates were over 200 parts per million. To provide context, a healthy reef system maintains nitrate levels near zero, often below 1 part per million in ultra-low nutrient systems. But normally, I realized that it's best to keep it around 10. This had exceeded the upper measurement of the test kit. The aquarium was not polluted, it was septic. And the consequences of that toxicity were clearly evident. The tank, once teeming with life, had become a coral graveyard. The soft corals were gone. The toadstool leathers, the cabbage leathers, species that had once dominated the aquascape had melted away, their tissues disintegrating under the toxic load. The fish also had died, one by one. The clownfish, the engineering gobies. But the foxface, rabbitfish, and the scopus tang, and the coral beauty angel were the only few fish that actually survived. The system that once held so much was now nearly empty. But it was not empty entirely. In the midst of the devastation, two organisms had endured. Against all odds, they had survived. The first was a small colony of Helioporal Corellia, also known as the Blue Ridge coral. This is an octocoral that builds a dense aragonite skeleton. It's one of the ocean's paradoxes. Its survival in water chemistry is lethal to nearly everything else was inexplicable. The second was a single Gorgonian coral. Its delicate polyps barely extending, but it was still trying to get through the toxic water from microscopic prey. These two survivors were not only merely remnants, they were a message, a spark of resilience in the ruins. The decision was made. The tank would not be dismantled. It would be saved. But saving it would require more than equipment or products. It would require time, patience, and a fundamental shift in the aquarium's own recovery. The parallel was unavoidable. As I began to heal, so too would the reef. The recovery process began immediately. Tap water was removed, permanently abandoned. The reverse osmosis system was restored, in fact, upgraded. Every drop of water entering the system was now purified, stripped of chlorine, heavy metals, and the nutrients. The first challenge was to dilute the catastrophic nitrate concentration. This required water changes, not occasional maintenance, but aggressive, sustained dilution. Week after week, 20% of the system's volume was removed and replaced with clean salt water. But dilution alone was not enough. The tank needed biological reinforcement, bacteria capable of processing the organic waste and breaking down the accumulated toxins. Multiple bacterial products were deployed. Microbacter 7, a blend of aerobic and facultative anaerobic bacteria designed to reduce nitrate and phosphate. Dr. Tim's Waste Away, enzymes and bacteria targeting organic waste and detritus. EcoBalance, probiotic bacteria to outcompete nuisance algae for nutrients. I also installed a biopellet reactor, a device that feeds specialized bacteria with a biodegradable carbon source, allowing them to consume the nitrate and phosphate and then be exported from the system via a protein skimmer, which I also upgraded. The approach was comprehensive, methodical, and slow. This was not a problem that could be solved in days or weeks. It would take over a year of consistent effort. But gradually, the water chemistry began to respond. The nitrate levels dropped from 200 parts per million, then to 150, then to 100, then 50. The hair algae weakened. The system itself began to clear. As the water improved, a new vision began to take shape. This would no longer be a random collection of colorful organisms. It would be an ecosystem, a deliberately designed biotope modeled after a specific place in the natural world, the Raja Ampat Mangrove Lagoon, a habitat where the reef meets the coral forest, where tangled roots provide shelter for juvenile fish, where nutrient-rich water is filtered by living trees, where life thrives not in spite of adversity, but because of adaptation. The centerpiece of the new system would be Rhizophora mangle, also known as the red mangrove. These remarkable trees are biological powerhouses, actively absorbing nitrate and phosphate from the water and incorporating them into their own tissues as they grow. Each new leaf represents nitrogen permanently removed from the system. Below the mangroves, a deep sand bed was installed. 6 inches of fine aragonite substrate, creating zones where specialized denitrifying bacteria could convert nitrate into harmless nitrogen gas. The livestock was chosen with intention. Leather corals, native to turbid, nutrient-rich lagoons. Fish that naturally shelter among mangrove roots. Every organism selected not for aesthetics, but for ecological appropriateness. Today, the system is stable. The water chemistry is measured not by constant intervention, but by the balanced process of the ecosystem itself. The mangroves absorb nutrients. The deep sand bed denitrifies. The beneficial community cycles waste efficiently. The heliopora that survived the crash still grows, its beautiful blue skeleton slowly expanding. The gorgonian still extends its polyps into the current, but they are no longer alone. The reef is not finished. It's not a finished product. No, not yet. It is a living progress. It will continue to mature, to adapt, to change. It is proof that the worst failures can become the foundation for the deepest understanding that recovery, whether of a person or an ecosystem, is not instantaneous, but it is possible. The journey to this resilient reef is far from over, but it has only just begun. I'm John Jr., and this is the Resilient Reef Biotope. Please like and subscribe and support my channel. Thank you. God bless, and goodbye.